So I thought while this was here in the studio, I should talk about it a little bit. 'Cause I'm probably never going to see another one, and neither are you. So this is a Rockit. I was going to say Wasp because of the cabs, but it's a Rockit Super Lead 130 Pro Series Tube Amp Mark 6. Built in New Zealand sometime, I'd say like mid-80s. Couple of good ideas in there, but a lot of garbage. So it's a New Zealand made single 12 tube amp. And you might be thinking, that looks suspiciously similar to a Mark Series Mesa. And you'd be right, it is suspiciously similar to it, but it's not a clone. Rockit and like Wasp and Strauss and Jansen and all these Australian and New Zealand amp companies sort of sprung up in the 70s and 80s to make high output, high quality amps and PA gear, similar to like Fender and Clip and High Watt and I guess later Reeves amps and things like that. The sort of local counterparts to those PA amps and rock amps of the 70s and 80s, because it's heaps cheaper to build it in the country where you're going to use it, especially when it weighs 45 kilos and has 4 6L6s for 135 watts through a single 12. And so you just build it here instead of importing it and paying the tariffs, and everybody wins. So that's exactly what happened. This was built in Auckland by a gentleman. I can't remember his name now because I'm terrible, but his sons survive, and they run a business called Auckland Sound Hire, and they still sort of custom build these if you ask, and they maintain the old ones. And it made its way to Australia somehow, and I saw it for sale a couple of years ago by a friend of mine, and then about 3 days ago it appeared in my shed, inexplicably. And I later found out it had been bought by somebody else that I know and brought to Adelaide and sat in a shed and then donated. He donated it to Girls Rock Adelaide, so it ended up in my shed. So I immediately knew that I had to play through it because I'm never going to get a chance to see another one. And it's beautiful. It's really good. Really, really good. So just, a quick rundown. 4 6L6s, 135 watts of output into an EV112 with the concrete back on the magnet, and hardwood enclosure, and 12AX7s in the pre-stage, of course. 135 watts, switchable to 75 if you're a coward. Still incredibly, abominably loud. The volume's on 1 at the moment because I have the channels turned up a bit to sort of drive everything. Sounds a bit like an old Music Man in the topology. It's not really the same as a Mark in the way it sounds, but in the way it feels to play and the way it runs in terms of the flow of the controls on the front. It's pretty similar. So we've got a clean side and a lead side. Clean side is a 3-band subtractive EQ, it feels like. It feels like when they're all on full, it's a pass-through flat, and when you wind them back, you're subtracting a treble or the mids or the bass. And there's a boost, a bright switch, which you probably need to have down to get enough treble to use this as sort of an additive control. To make 5 noon, you need to have the bright switch on, basically. There's a TRS foot switch to turn the reverb on, so there's a spring reverb tank in the bottom, or to switch to the lead channel. So you've got the master in the center, which means you can crank the volumes of the channel and turn it down post phase inverter, I'm guessing, for that sort of saturation at a lower volume. And then you've got a drive and a volume on the lead channel and a bright switch again, which you probably should have on, and a 5-band EQ that goes 200, 400, 800, 1.6, and 3.2K. So that's about all. Oh, and there's a preamp output and a power amp input on the front, and an extension cab on the back, if you like, switchable ohmage. So there's a lot going on for such a little amp, but it weighs every gram of all those features. When you try to pick it up, you'll find out quite quickly how much it weighs. But anyway, that's enough of that. This is how it sounds. So I'll turn some reverb on now, because it's a fairly conservative 555 setting on the preamp. But that reverb, man. String of a 7 really well. Gorgeous. Especially when you really crank the reverb, because it's long. Really great, don't you think? I haven't run any pedals into it yet, and I'm not going to, in this demo anyway, because I just like the way it sounds. And especially when you flip over to the lead side, you get a really classic sort of 70s driven lead. Now that's maxed out. There's no more. The drive's on full, the channel volume's nearly on full, the bright switch is down, and I've pushed all of the treble on the graphic EQ. Because that's about it. When you relax the 3.2K, you get the kind of classic saturated drive sound. Which I also really like. Really nice. And that's about as kind of modern as you get, as if you push that up. Just generally really nice. I've been having a lot of fun just sort of playing leads. Especially through the reverb. so good. So good that I pulled my guitar out. That's better. A little bit better. But it's not really a metal amp at all. It can do the low string. But that's about as good as you get, is that sort of... You'd need a pedal. So that's that. Cool amp. So good. Love it. Especially playing on that sort of Schofield lead sound. That's enough of me. I really like it. I'm glad it's here. Thanks, Reese.